Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is once again that time of the week. Sorry, we're starting a little bit late. Things got a little kerfuddled, as it were. But anyway, this is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. It's a weekly show where we tell you what's actually going on in the news and politics. We cut through the establishment's BS and give you that straight truth. As we say with every week, the following thoughts, views, and opinions are not necessarily those of 89.1 FM WIDR Kalamazoo or Western Michigan University, no matter how dope or insightful they may be. So, a lot to talk about on the show today. So you were coming in, Lawrence, today with some fire. And Bill. All right.
Hey, everybody, my name is Lawrence.
Oh, hold on. There's a
couple things. For those who heard about the earthquake, the 7.1 earthquake that happened in Mexico City yesterday, or thoughts and prayers. My own. Hello. Testing.
hello. Okay, that's weird.
Oh wait.
Wait,
hold up.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
All right, I think now we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay, that was weird. Sorry about that, folks.
No.
So please get. Oh man.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
Talk about Puerto Rico, which getting slammed for the second time in a row from Maria. No, actually, it just hit landfall this morning at about 5 a.m. And keep in mind, like, this country already had like most of their power knocked out by the last one, and from what I heard, Maria is going straight through the center of Puerto Rico, where it's going to do a tremendous amount of damage. I'm sorry, finish your thought on that.
To start off talking about climate change and other natural disasters, thoughts and prayers go out to those that were affected by the earthquake that happened in Mexico City. I have friends that are affected by that earthquake, and thoughts and prayers and are going out to everybody, and please just try to be safe. And this goes into Maria and the other 3 hurricanes that happened at the same time, and how hurricane season is only going to get worse. Like, we talked about climate change last time, previously on an episode, and
it's worth bringing up again and again.
Yeah,
I mean,
these things.
We're making up for the amount that the mainstream media doesn't talk about.
Oh my God!
We got to talk about a little extra.
Yeah, there was a study that just came out. Like Fox News talked about how climate change isn't real as much as CNN and MSNBC talked about it being real, and it was about 6 times each.
Yeah.
So they balance each other out by not actually talking about it, and then when they talk about it, they have a bunch of climate change deniers with Fox News, but then you have neutrality on CNN and MSNBC, where they'll put a climate change denier against Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Let's bring on this climatologist who's literally spent their entire career studying this, and then let's bring on this guy in a business suit who is a consultant with Exxon.
Right. And the thing that they never bring up, that the journalists, these news actors, they're not journalists, these news actors on mainstream media, they don't bring up the fact that ExxonMobil knew that what they were doing was affecting climate change back in 1978.
78.
Leaked documents shown that ExxonMobil knew. They had their own independent scientists tell them that what they were doing was affecting the climate of the Earth, and will drastically impact our environment. And the CEOs of Exxon said, oh, is it going to impact us within the next quarter so we can make more money? No? Okay. Will you put that information in the garbage? And let's keep on moving. So, as Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks always says, they have privatized the gains because they made all this money from their offshore drilling, from their fracking, from all these different things. Yet they have socialized losses, because now we're getting impacted by much more devastating storms, earthquakes, floods, wildfires that's going on in California right now. Just wild stuff. The world as of right now is getting hit by tremendous I don't even like using that word anymore, by horrific storms and catastrophes, and we could have prevented this years ago, and the people who are causing it and making it worse has not paid for it.
No,
and that's the biggest issue.
That is spot on. It's what was it? Socialism for the wealthy, rugged individualism for the rest of us. And if the oil refinery that, if you live in a place like Houston is maybe across the street from you, they end up dumping a bunch of toxic chemicals or pollutants into the air. Well, I'm afraid that's just tough. You just got to deal with it.
Well, and again, I have friends and family that are still in Houston that are still dealing with the devastation of the hurricane that hit them, and the reports of the activists that are down in Houston with the chemical companies, with the fact that the chemical companies are that they are leaking sewage and other waste into the water that people are still waist deep in and will be affected by. The thing is that Texas Republicans and other politicians help them skirt regulations in Houston and in Texas so that their buildings would not have to be regulated to deal with this type of storm or to deal with any type of catastrophe. They didn't have a what if scenario, and they didn't have to, and they skirted around regulations to make sure that their buildings were secure so people would not be affected by their chemicals and waste and toxins. Mm-hmm. You'll have people say that they don't see the corruption. They don't see the biasness or corruption or environmental injustice, when the majority of people who live around those factories or live around those plants are low-income people. Mm-hmm. They didn't. It's amazing how they didn't put those chemical companies or those oil refineries in the more expensive parts of Houston. They didn't do that. They did it where it was low-income areas. So if something bad happened, it happened to the disenfranchised who did not have power, who did not donate to the politicians.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah,
that's systemic injustice, and that's environmental injustice. That's systemic corruption at its core.
Mm-hmm. It's. I think it's apt to bring up the connection here with I'll read a little bit. We're talking about climate stuff. Let's localize it a bit. Did you read that article I sent you about Enbridge?
I know, I missed it.
Oh man. Okay. I'll read a little bit from it, but I think we'll have something to bounce off with this one. Okay. Oh man. Okay. So this is published in the Detroit News on September 18th. Researcher with Enbridge passed to lead Line 5 study. The state's top environmental official said she has lost confidence in Enbridge Energy as the state panel decided Monday to put a researcher with a history of working for the Canadian oil and gas firm in charge of a new risk analysis that's meant to be independent. Guy Meadows, a member of the state's pipeline safety panel and director of the Great Lakes Research Center at Michigan Technological University, will choose more than a dozen top university researchers to conduct an independent risk analysis of Enbridge's Line 5. The pipeline carries 23 million gallons of oil through the states of Mackinac each day, which is just about the worst place for an oil pipeline. I mean, that doesn't say this in the article, but seriously, okay, if there's an accident with that pipeline, just
for people to understand, Mackinac is one of the largest freshwater areas in Michigan. I think around over 50,000. Last time I read, over 50,000 people get their drinking water from there in Michigan. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just in Michigan. It's that water doesn't stay in near Mackinac. That's the thing. Like that, it's not if, it's when. When that oil spill happens there, it will travel. It's going to travel, and we saw how the Kalamazoo oil spill has been shaping up, and they still haven't put out to the public how much actual damage has been done.
Well, that's important to bring up too, because this is a company that has a history of lying and obfuscation. I mean, we have friends who are in the activist community who literally stepped in this oily muck when they said that it is safe to go in the Kalamazoo River. Go out. Go out and fish and wade in the water.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who's he walked out on the riverbank, ended up sinking up to his waist in oil, and he's actually got really severe health problems because of that now.
Man.
There's this. I would recommend. Look up this documentary. I can't remember the name. It's Enbridge Lies. John Bolenbaugh. And
I saw that documentary.
Yeah. And there's some things I'd have to say about John as a person, but it is very detailed. It shows you exactly the kind of shenanigans that Enbridge was up to. First of all, covering up the fact that they didn't do a proper cleanup, and then people like John out there kept poking them until they actually went out there and cleaned it up. Although I will say, if you watch the documentary, John put it together himself, and there's a lot of footage of people saying, "Oh my God, thank you, John Bolenbaugh. He's such a brave man." So it's but here's the thing: if you're gonna be an activist, you gotta be, take Kendrick's advice. You gotta be humble. Put that stuff about there, "Oh, I'm a hero."
Hold up. The thing that ties Enbridge and the other chemical companies all together is that they are some of chemical and oil companies all together is that they are some of the biggest lobbyists of our government, and the only way that they can get away with the deregulation, with poisoning our water, with our water systems, and not being held accountable for it, the reason why they can again privatize the gains and socialize the losses to the rest of us as Americans is because they are paying the politicians to make sure that the laws that are passed are in favor for them and not for us. I forgot who said it. I think it was Noam Chomsky that said it. It's a giant club and we're not in it. These industries know. Just this pipeline is just as crazy as DAPL is. It's just as crazy as the XL pipeline is. They're going over waterways that give life and give water to over thousands and millions of people, and they don't care. They don't care if you get poisoned because every one of those pipelines that has been constructed has leaked. DAPL leaked 3 times. We know of.
Something that actually gets pointed out in the John Bolenbaugh documentary. A lot of times for these oil companies or these energy companies like Enbridge, it is actually cheaper for them to just let the pipeline burst and then fix it afterwards than it is to actually maintain the pipe so that there's not a leak in the first place.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the that's that that's that predatory capitalism at its best.
Oh, yeah.
Where we save a couple $100,000 by letting it leak into the water instead of fixing it right away. Sure, we'll get bad PR, and sure, people will die, but we're not going to be held accountable for it. No. We're not going to take care of it.
It's going to be these people living along the Kalamazoo River that ends up getting like the chronic headaches and the nausea and the chronic diseases.
It's the same. It's not just here in Kalamazoo. It's all over Michigan. I have a friend that lives in Port Huron, and Port Huron has a bunch of chemical factories right along Detroit Port Huron aqueducts. Like they call it the chemical canal for a reason, because it smells like chemical sewage. Just the water that they would be in would smell like chemical sewage. And I'm sitting here like, y'all ain't ask no questions. Like, how are they getting rid of their waste? What's the regulation to do so? Has anybody been held accountable for the chronic illnesses that people get because they're living by these factories? Like,
and it's good that you point that. Like, as good as the Kalamazoo River is now, we got to remember, like, we've come a long way. We've got to really make some pushback so we don't go backwards, because even like decades before the oil spill, and like my mom and dad grew up around here. They told me, like, yeah, it was just full of just crap from the factories around here. And they say, like, it smelled worse than a sewer. Not only would you never want to go in or fish, you would not want to be around the Kalamazoo River.
Man, you can say that now.
Yeah, it's still pretty bad.
If you ever roll by the paper mill, like, not to knock the paper mill or whatever, but if you ever roll by Patterson and Riverview, cemetery.
I was thinking about that.
Man. Oof. Jesus Christ, you cannot tell me that they're not polluting in that part of the river. You cannot tell me that there's not something in that water. Like,
I think the sewage treatment plant is by there too.
Yeah,
so that's
I understand. I understand.
Also,
right, I understand, but I'm just saying, like, nah, I don't trust it.
Yeah,
but. Let's hop on something. Let's hop on another topic.
All right. Okay, I'll tell you what. Actually, let's. It's about 5:25.
Hey, this is normally when we take a break.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I got a short clip I'm going to play. A state climatologist actually came into Kalamazoo on Saturday.
Oh.
And that is Aaron Palia. And he is. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was last Saturday?
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
I missed it.
And he's the assistant to the state climatologist of Michigan. He came and talked about how, like, kind of climate impacts will be localized. And I thought it'd just be interesting to play on the show. Mentioned how in the next several decades, our climate outcomes here, our climate might end up being a little bit more like Savannah, Georgia. And
what?
Yeah. And talked about eventually we'll be able to grow corn in the UP. And comparatively, and we've talked about this on the show before, how Michigan, in the grand scheme of things, is not going to get the worst of the climate stick. However, to people who are currently living in places like Miami and New York, or really anywhere on the coast, Michigan's going to start looking a lot more popular by 2070, 2080. So I'm going to play a short clip of him talking about that just a little bit.
It's not going to be that bad. It's going to be like southeastern Georgia. Sure, it's warm, but it's not going to be snowy. And most people kind of say, hey, that's great. But when you look at it as a climate scientist, you're just... No, it's just as bad. It's just that you're not getting hurricanes, sure. You're not getting sea level rise because of all the water heating up, thermal expansion of the water. All the ice on the planet can melt. It will increase the water height this much. It's more if you increase the entire ocean by a degree Celsius, then, okay, that's where you start getting the actual real sea level rise. That's where most of the sea level rise is actually occurring.
I actually wanted to follow up on that because I've read a number of articles about how our climate is going to be, at least in comparison to a lot of other places in the United States by the end of the century, a lot more stable. There's a potential for a lot of population influx because of that. Now, particularly coming from your background, you say you do a lot of research into agriculture. How is our climate projection going to affect, food production here in the state, and how much is our carrying capacity for that? How are we going to be able to? What is our capacity to deal with that kind of population influx from some regions in the United States that are going to be potentially less livable?
It's unknown. I would say, because who knows who wants to live here? Who knows? I would say that in general, food production has been increasing year by year. Overall, if you look at the climate of food production in Michigan, corn's been increasing production, wheat's been increasing production, even when we discount the effects of technology. So, when you study crops, you really have to take into account changes in technology. What new fertilizers have been developed? What new types of tractors have been developed? It's kind of a tough way of dealing with climate of agriculture, but it's not so tough as to say that it's impossible. You can see these trends. U.S. government back in the 1980s used these same techniques to predict the fall of the Soviet Union because of wheat production and their lack of ability to actually harvest wheat. So there's no way the Soviet Union could continue past the early 90s because of food production. USDA was right. It's one of the major reasons that the Soviet Union got falling apart. They just spent so much money on the military, plus importing food because they couldn't grow enough for themselves. You can study these things. There's an increase in production of food crops in Michigan. That's not in question. Some of it's through technology, some of it is not. It's through better climate, longer growing season. If you have, there's certain types of plants called C4 plants. Corns, grasses, things like that. Increasing CO2 amounts in the atmosphere actually benefits them. They grow faster, much larger. Not all plants are like that, but corn, things like that, will actually grow better with more CO2. So you're going to see an increase. You're going to see, hey, that's why farmers are like, longer growing season, more precipitation, better crops, more crops. Climate change is okay. I agree with Mr. Cooper. Change is fine. But overall, it's not. Overall, the big pattern for Michigan, maybe, if you just look at it in that kind of narrow area.
As you were showing before, it still causes changes in the growing season that could be disruptive. For instance, like the peach crop, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's not in sync with the insects, which are fertilizing.
So when you have changes in certain times with certain amounts of temperature change, let's say, the peaches might start flowering before the insects that normally help pollinate them have actually hatched. So then you have crop failure. You have the same thing with cherries because you have a warming of temperatures in the winter, a larger warming. I'm going to use some chalk. Is that okay? I'm going to use some chalk. So I'm going to draw some. I wish I had some graphs. Okay, so
the way they're going to change the couple with the types of trees they grow their crops, or they'll keep moving north.
Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that clip there. But
Is that clip on YouTube?
okay, let's.
Wait.
Yeah, we were just talking about something.
Wait, is that clip on YouTube? Because I need to finish watching it.
All right. Well, okay. Let's look that up real quick before we go to break. Okay. So what? I was kind of half listening, but I heard you say, I'm not going to my... All right, so what am I looking up?
Okay. See, here's the thing. There was a... we wanted to get on a lighter topic because, climate change and how it's affecting and how that is one of the biggest issues of our time, is if not the biggest issue of our time. We wanted to do something a little lighter. So we want to talk about Nancy Pelosi. And how she got heckled by some dreamers.
Oh, well, no, wait. I was talking... okay, what? Let's go to break real quick, and then we'll hop into that. All right. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
Be apparent, but hunger is a rather prominent issue amongst the student body of Western. The Invisible Need Project is a multifaceted initiative that's aimed to help struggling students. Every 2 weeks, generous people donate their food to the pantry located in the Fawn Student Service buildings or other drop-off locations. All you need to do is grab a reusable bag and grab whatever food you need to help sustain yourself. If anyone's unsure when their next meal will be, or if you have a little extra food you'd be willing to donate, the food pantry is your place. If you're looking to help donate, become a volunteer, or just learn more, call 269-387-4742 or email dosa-inp@wmich.edu for details.
This is an open slot in the wider clock and could be filled with an underwriting announcement for your local Kalamazoo business. For more information, please visit widerfm.org and head to the support page.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo. So, as we were talking about for the break, earlier this week, Nancy Pelosi was doing a press conference, and but let's be clear. This is a pretty good start because she's about to.
Touch the hands.
She's about to talk to the hands.
As a friend of mine would say, she's about to catch the hands.
All right, so
not literally. Like she's gonna get what she deserves.
Yes, yeah. So I'll play the clip and then we'll fill in the context after.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is especially for I had so a lot of people knew this happened, that she got interrupted by this group of undocumented activists, and there's actually this white woman on my Facebook feed who's like, why did they do that? I don't understand. Why are you interrupting the people who are trying to help you? I don't get it.
We could discuss after we watch after the
yeah, we will. This fella, he's about to drop some truth bombs and like tear Nancy a new one with said truths. So, all right, let's go ahead and play that clip, and then we'll
discuss.
Dive a little deeper. Yeah. About to drop that truth.
Remember all too well How for 8 years, the Democrats laid siege to our communities. Bringing and deporting nearly 3 million people.
Oh!
Family members and loved ones.
Drop the mic?
Wait.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Okay. I have a slight criticism. Small, slight criticism. All right. If you're going to ask somebody to explain, then let them explain. Now, the reason why is something that my dad and my mom used to tell me. If someone's going to give you the ammunition so they could shoot themselves in the face, you let them give you the ammunition so you could shoot them in the face. And in the sense that Nancy was going to lie. She has no stance. She went to President Trump and was going to use the Dreamers as a bargaining chip. And the Dreamers are correct. President Obama and his administration the last 8 years deported over 2.5 million immigrants.
Yeah, and if you think it's just what she has to do is militarize that border. Man, Democrats don't care about militarizing our. Jeff Sessions was criticized, or the Trump administration too, for basically lifting that ban on military equipment given to police. But actually, most of the military equipment that we think of, like those kind of Humvees, tank-like vehicles, etc., the riot gear, and like the automatic rifles, those were not banned under Obama. What was banned were basically under
grenade launchers,
and what's the pointy? I'm having a brain fart.
Bayonets.
Bayonets.
Yeah. Why do you need a bayonet? Why? Okay, here's okay.
Well, you can have them now, folks.
Wait, no. Before we get. A lot of that military hardware not only went to our local police, it also went to ICE.
Yeah.
And ICE was doing night raids under President Obama's term.
They were.
And were destroying families. A lot of people that they deported, some, yes, were criminals. A overwhelming majority of them were not criminals. They just were born. They wasn't born here. They came here when they were like 2, 3, maybe 4 years old. Here's the thing. President Obama, it's not like President Obama didn't have a filibuster-proof Senate and a filibuster-proof Congress in his first 2 years. Now, I understand that he could not do everything under the sun, but he did do an executive order, and he did DACA. DACA was a Band-Aid. It wasn't the surgery to get the cancer out. It was a Band-Aid to stop a bleeding wound. And it did help, but it doesn't help when the Democratic president, Democratic Congress, and Democratic Senate at the time, and over the 8 years, even though like the Congress changed, you had them still deporting more people than the last 3 presidents combined.
Yeah, and interesting thing about Dreamers, and this is something got brought up last night. And if you're interested in hearing some hard Super Saiyan left talk, International Youth and Students for Social Equality on campus, their group that's very super socialist. Anyway, something that we were talking about last night, the DREAM Act actually coincided roughly with Obama's re-election. So there's a lot of maybe he did a lot that to get the Latino vote, and that kind of political triangulation is not necessarily abnormal for
it's not abnormal for a normal politician, and that's what we had for 8 years. We had a normal politician, but at the same time, this is the reason why Nancy Pelosi got disrupted and got heckled, because she would flip-flop on both of these decisions. On one side, she was absolutely for the immigrants getting deported. She was, and then on the other side, she's like, no, I'm a part of the resistance.
Yeah,
and now she wants to be the leader of the resistance when she historically have been on the opposite side.
Thing that needs to be resisted. I mean, a great quote. It wasn't in that. It wasn't in that part of the clip, but they actually shout out like, "We are the resistance, not the Democrats." There's a sign. It's like, "Democrats are deporters," and that is something that like you really need to understand if you're new to a lot of these movements and you don't understand this background. Immigration activists called Obama the deporter in chief, and as of August 8th. They're actually Trump deportation levels still are lagging behind Obama's. And at its peak, the peak year for Obama was 2012, and they deported roughly 34,000 people, which ironically, I guess that was the same year he was promising DACA. So, granted, and make no mistake, there have been more arrests under Trump. But there have been less deportations, and this is from an article in Politico, and it says one of the reasons is that less people actually crossing the border out of fear of Trump's rhetoric, and also the immigration courts, which now are a lot more backlogged, and that case backlog grew exponentially during the Obama administration.
And there's one more thing.
Yeah.
To add to that point that you just said, immigration from our southern border has been at a net zero since 2000. Since the middle of Obama's administration, immigration was at a net zero. So there was less people coming to our country. Less people trying to immigrate to our country than people leaving the country because the economy in Mexico and other places were better than what they were getting here at that time. Also, that what was going on at that time, and what's still going on to this day, because our immigration still to this day is at a net zero. But what's going on is that you have violence in Venezuela, violence in Mexico. You have drug cartels and other policies, foreign policies that America has been a part of, that is destroying the lives of people that live there, and they're trying to leave so that they can live to see another day. So when you have dreamers who are here, who were here when they were 2 years old, they've bought a house, started a business, they've gone to college, and it's also been proven that immigrants in this country do less crime than actual Americans because of the fear of deportation. And you're not going to stand with them. You're not actively going to fight for them. Nancy Pelosi, just like the other establishment Democrats, have failed them. They have failed them by basically using them only when it served their purpose, and that's why she got interrupted. And they should have let her talk more. They should have let her talk more so that she could dig herself in a much deeper hole. That's what they should have did.
I agree with that, and it's I'd say and that was the only problem with it, because now the story is that they interrupted Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
And I think it's very interesting, like that clip I played, that's not that, you can't find that with any of the mainstream coverage. All the headlines are just like, Nancy Pelosi interrupted. It didn't have the context where that guy was talking about how, like, you guys have been deporting us for 8 years, Right. That's probably why my, white female friend on Facebook was just all like, why did they do that? Why? It's like, well, it's because the Obama administration was deporting people left and right, and that goes.
Let's also, because context, like I say all the time, context matters just like Black Lives. The Republicans are worse on this issue. The Republicans are monstrous. They are demon possessed on this issue. When it comes to immigration, they want to exploit immigrants like Trump did to build his towers. How in New York, 73% of his workers were immigrants. on his towers, yet he wants to kick them out. So
exploit for labor and exploit for fear when election season comes near.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's basically it.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And the other part of that coin is when the Democrats had power, when the Democrats were in power, they could have pushed for this change. Now, this is also fault on the American people, because it has been proven in our history that activism pushes politicians. When the people are pushing the policy, then that's when the politicians will move. And when a lot of people, when activists in the Latino community were pushing President Obama, then we got DACA. Then we got DACA because he had no choice. It was, again, it would have been the end of his term if he did not push for a policy that would help. Did it go as far as it needed to go? No, not at all. But did it help? Yes. Here's the thing. You could have done more. We could have done more. But if we're only going to deal with the needs of people when it comes to election season, and we're not fighting for it year round, then those politicians will use immigrants and Native Americans and black people every 4 years and be like, hey, where's my donors at for the rest of the time?
Yeah. And you notice like there's this kind of weird triangulation with Democrats where it's never like we're going to come up with some humane option to deal with like our undocumented population. It's always like, let's just do like a more polite version of what the Republicans want. So like not a wall, let's build a fence. Instead of like ice raids in the day, let's do it at night. And I don't know, maybe let's make sure they're all trained in Spanish, so it's not just a bunch of like meatheads being like, let's take you back to Mexico.
Right. It's again, this is a part of that failure that the Democrats have, that they have to be accountable for. This is the reason why you have people like Nina Turner and Bernie Sanders and other progressives who are actually, and Dr. Cornel West and other people, activists, who are actually fighting for these issues. And we need to back those people who are actually fighting on behalf of the American people, not the ones who only say it when it's their seat that's on the line, but those who actually believe it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Nancy Pelosi, if you actually go online and read that clip, Nancy Pelosi does not care. She does not. You can see it in her tone that she just wants to leave. She doesn't have any knowledge on the issue. This is the same woman who read the principles of the Better Deal, Better Pizza, Democrats on a pamphlet. She didn't know it. She had to read it off a pamphlet, because those issues she don't care about. She cares about her donors. She does care about where that money's coming.
And let's use this moment, to be a little instructive. How are you supposed to deal with this situation? Because this is the Democratic establishment. Democrats get really befuddled when you challenge them. This reminds me a lot of that moment in the campaign where that BLM activist got into a Hillary Clinton fundraiser, and Hillary was just like, "Oh, I'll talk to you afterwards. But be quiet. Let me finish." You feel like this entitlement that my voice got elected, my voice has political leverage. Let me finish. I'm more important than you.
Let me give you these talking points that I've memorized.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is where. Again, I'm sorry for interrupting, but this is where I would handle it the same way that Jordan Sheridan.
Will you let me finish, Lawrence?
Okay, I would handle it the way that Jordan Sheridan did when he took down Donna Brazile. In other words, I'm going to come to you with facts, and when you start giving me these talking points that I've heard you say, I'm going to debunk your talking points with facts. And I'm going to now be holding you accountable for the stuff that you are going to be saying now. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put it online so everyone can see that you're full of crap.
Oh, and this reminds me of something from the Juggalo March, actually.
What?
No, this Well, no, it's actually the mother of all marches or whatever. But I want to kind of contrast what Nancy and Hillary did with two different situations. One was, okay, so we remember Bernie actually. Bernie
got interrupted twice.
Yeah, he got Well, the two BLM ladies, and what did he do? He gave them the mic. And I know at the time a lot of people asked him, was like, why did you do that? Or some people were like, oh, well, he's trying to fuck your issues. And like that made him a better candidate because he sat down, he listened to what they had to say. He made that a much stronger part of his platform. He let them speak on the issues from their own personal experience instead of pretending to care about them.
Oh,
Yeah.
To add to that, he was so moved by the things that they said in the two, because remember, it happened twice. The first time it was with him and Martin O'Malley, and the second time was in Seattle. He was so moved by the policies of Campaign Zero. He added a BLM member activist, a BLM activist, to his campaign staff so that he can accurately talk about the issues that are affecting black people in this country and other disenfranchised groups. So he listened to the people and said, how can we fix it? So let's now fight and fix it. Mm-hmm. So
it's a lot more effective than carrying hot sauce in your pocket.
But that's the thing. When you're holding people in power accountable, you have to use the bigger weapon, and the bigger weapon is always knowledge. It's always facts. So when you're dealing with people like Nancy Pelosi, no, let them speak. Let them dig themselves in a hole. So when you're like, hold up, this is what you said. You have a smartphone. This is what you said, and quote it back to them, and say, so what you just said now does not line up with the actual policy, nor does it line up to what you said X, Y, and Z.
I'm just thinking, and to be able to do that because that was a mic check situation where, you have the speaker and then this whole group repeats it back. Right. So if she was just like, Democrats have always fought for that, and then somebody was like, back in 2008, President Obama. Extended. The Secure Fences Act.
Oh, and also to add to that, just to add to that with President Obama, they gave this over-militarized ISIS force to Donald Trump.
Oh man, we talked about this around inauguration, how they're basically giving a child a flamethrower.
Oh my God! And they gave this drunk monkey who's been bit by a snake a literal flamethrower.
Here's the greatest surveillance apparatus in human history.
No,
there you go. But here's the largest military that's ever existed. Here you go.
But that's the thing. When you look at it from those people, those activists' perspective, the Democrats created an overreaching, militarized immigration force known as ICE, and they gave them military hardware to break up families and to deport people. A majority of those people are innocent, and they gave that to Donald Trump.
Oh, and so, that's going to lead into our next topic. I did want to kind of close out the immigration thing by saying something that's kind of urgent, and it's a bit more localized. But for those who don't know, there's going to be a big push from ICE this month. There's national raids going on from the 16th through about the end of the month, I think October 1st, 2nd. This was on an immigration activist website, and this is actually, I just got some news today from some of my peeps in the activist community. There have been some arrests around here. About 10 farm workers were picked up in the Hart area. That's pretty close to here in Kalamazoo. So I'm just letting y'all know, if you got some undocumented friends, family, it might be a good idea to put them on the alert until at least the end of the month, because that's pretty close to Kalamazoo. So, you know,
look, the best way to help each other, the best way to help our immigrant brothers and sisters is for the community to help. Now, I understand that you may not understand the severity of most situations, but think about their situation. Think about if you were in their situation. Would you want your house getting kicked in at the middle of the night or during the day? Would you like your father or child to be taken out of school and deported to a country that they've never been to? How would you feel if your brother and sister didn't come home because they're in a holding cell about to be flown back to whatever country that y'all are or your origin is from, and they've probably never been there or spoke the language or know anyone there? Put yourself in this situation. Empathy with action will equal progress and will equal protection for those who need it, and these people are those who help grow our food. They do jobs that we do not want to do. These are facts. They help our economy, and if they are taken away, it will hurt us, the American people.
Oh yeah, and you know the way I look at it, especially like locally, like anybody who lives in Kalamazoo, if you're undocumented, I don't care if you're an American citizen. If you're a citizen of Kalamazoo, I still got no right to be coming in here and taking our citizens. F that.
Right. All right. So we go. We're gonna go into one more thing before I dip out.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the orange one.
The orange one.
Actually, he broke it's in the UN Charter. You're not supposed to just make threats on the floor of the UN Assembly, and he threatened several countries. Venezuela, we're going to invade you. Iran, we're probably going to try to figure out a way to invade you. North Korea, if they don't cut it out, apparently, we will destroy you.
Oh, man.
Wow.
If y'all, if for those who do not know, the UN summit it was in DC, right?
No, New York.
Yeah, it was in New York. Mm-hmm. So the United Nations was in New York, and Donald Trump, the president of the United States, always speaks at the United Nations.
Yeah. And if you want some lighter, look up some pictures of like the Zimbabwe delegation just going like, or John Kelly was there, and he's the Joint Chiefs?
Yeah, Joint Chiefs.
And like there's they actually photographed him when Donald Trump said to destroy North Korea, and he's just got his hands on his face, like his favorite team just like lost the NBA Finals. He's just like, oh god.
I know we're laughing about it, but this is not a joking matter.
No.
Donald Trump, our POTUS, has literally and figuratively lost his mind, and it's scary. It's scary because this nincompoop has nuclear weapons, and he could, in all honesty, do these things without being checked.
Oh, but Lawrence, aren't our friends at the Democratic Party Resistance forming like some sort of League of Justice to help solve this problem?
Oh Jesus. Sorry to disappoint you, but was it Congress that just passed a $7 billion? It was Congress just passed
$80 billion.
$80 billion budget for our military.
Yeah, and this is $80 billion increase, and Trump only asked for 54, by the way.
Yeah, 80 billion, right? Would it be? Okay, so for those who do not understand why we are talking about this, is because only 7 Democrats, 7 said no. 7 said no to this bill, and it passed the Congress. Need I remind you all that we have the largest. We spend more money on our military than the next 10. Was it not 8 countries? 10. Yeah. We spend more money than the next 9 countries combined. 8 of them are our allies.
Well, I think it's 10 now.
It's 10 now?
Yeah, because of the increase.
Oh, yeah. Okay, correction. We spend more money than the next 10 countries combined. 9 of them are our allies. Actually, yeah, I just looked. Yeah. So, we spend over 55% of our discretionary spending goes to the military. For things like the F-13, a fighter jet that didn't work, that doesn't work, that cost $1.7 trillion. It's when it was first created. We're wasting money. We're wasting money we're wasting money, and no one on the mainstream media ever says, how are we going to pay for this? How are we paying for these 7 interventions that we have overseas right now? How are we paying for the fact that we are funding ISIS to fight Syria, but then we're fighting against ISIS in Yemen? Like, how are we bombing North African countries all over the Middle East, and now we're threatening to go to war with North Korea because our president is Joffrey from the Game of Thrones. our president is the Child King. But even when we didn't have the Child King, we went from 2 wars from under Bush to 7 wars with Obama, and now we're spending more money that we do not have, and no one's ever asking, how are we paying for these wars?
And even like the sensible people in Trump's cabinet, like Trump probably would go to North Korea just because it's like two children playing with their toys, and it's funny, like what was Trevor Noah had a really kind of cheeky observation about how, like, Kim Jong-un is like, it's how Trump sees Kim Jong-un how we all see Trump. So Trump's like, I can't believe this guy. He's nuts. He's crazy. He's Rocket Man. Yeah, it's like,
right.
We're all looking, it's like, that's you.
That's you,
man. Yeah.
That's you. That's you, son.
But anyway, there's an Intercept article. Okay, no, wait. Sorry, let me backtrack. Finish my thought. So even the people in Trump's cabinet, who are a little bit more sensible, like Mad Dog Mattis. How bad is the Trump administration? It's like your most sensible adult is a guy named Mad Dog.
His name in his service was known as Chaos.
Yeah,
and people like Kamala Harris voted for him. Now I know 94% of the Senate and others voted for him, but Mad Dog Mattis has committed war crimes. And that is not hyperbole. That's not me making a general statement. That is fact.
And even I've given Elizabeth Warren some heat about this. Her grilling questions, Mad Dog, were basically about whether the defense contractors would be in her district, and she is also she's one of the Democrats who voted for this. By the way, unfortunately, and
here's the thing. Like, let's be honest. There's no reason why our military spending needs to be as high as it is. When it comes to the biggest threat to the world, if you actually polling has come out, when you ask the citizens of our planet, what is the biggest threat to the world?
What country is
the biggest threat? The number one answer is always the United States.
United States. Mm-hmm.
And most people will probably think, why is the United States the number one threat? We have Boko Haram. We have all these other crazy dictators. We have crazy dictators and lunatics all across the world. Yeah, we also have nukes.
And let's not forget, when we're talking about crazy dictators and terrorist groups, if those weren't dictators who we helped either put into power or terrorist groups that we directly funded and gave arms, then it's usually like some sort of condition of our imperialism or our economic system is creating conditions for these dictators or these terrorist groups to rise up and gain power. So I mean,
that is the God honest truth.
Yeah,
that's the God honest truth.
I mean, if you have any questions about why people look at it as a threat, well, let's go back to the idea of Russian meddling, and Noam Chomsky said this a couple times, and I've said this before too. People really need to get some perspective, because even if the worst accusations against Russia are true, I mean, if the American government doesn't like the outcome of someone's election, we'll just
we'll overthrow
kill the
them.
winner. Yeah, we'll overthrow them.
The CIA has literally overthrown democratically elected presidents and leaders because of the dealings that we were doing with them. And yeah, America has interfered in multitude of countries' elections. Now, I'm not saying that Russia did not interfere in our election in some way, shape, or form, because they have. But this also goes back to ties back into the military spending. If we want our standing in the world and we want to be a better country and actually help out our planet, then maybe we want to be a leader, then maybe we need to stop treating the rest of the world like the kid that's being bullied by the school bully. Maybe we need to stop being that class bully, because to the rest of the world, that's what we are.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with Trump, I've said this:
God.
The mask is off. It's bully.
God.
Yeah, it's not even because
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the one thing that made me upset when he started threatening North Korea. You took diplomacy off the table. How did we turn Germany and Japan into our biggest allies? After World War II, we fought against Germany, we fought against Nazis, and Japan bombed us in Pearl Harbor. How did we turn these two superpowers into allies? We did it through diplomacy. We did it with sanctions, but we also did it with diplomacy. We talked to people. We didn't threaten them. We negotiated with people, and our POTUS is supposed to be one of the best negotiators ever.
Yeah. And by the way, North Korea is willing to negotiate. That's something that the mainstream media really pushes out, because as bad as North Korea is, as oppressive as it is, their whole nuclear program is a bargaining chip in itself. They have said many times, if you will stop doing the military exercises right near our borders, I believe right in the South Pacific Sea, right next to Korea. If you stop doing this military posturing towards us, we will dismantle our nuclear program. We will do exactly what you want. And even during the Obama years, they was a bit more diplomatic about it, but they would rebuke that negotiation. Trump is doing it in these bellicose, childlike terms, but there's been a problem since the Bush administration. When North Korea got on the axis of evil, no president since then has made moves to try to either normalize or give them just a little bit in order to get their nuclear program off the table. That's not unreasonable to say, hey, I'd appreciate it if you stopped doing military exercises geared towards preparing for the invasion of our country. If you could stop doing that, maybe we de-escalate a bit, and that side's you're crazy, Kim Jong-un. No.
I mean, we don't even gotta go back that far. President Obama, one of the best things one of the things that I celebrate about his administration, they had the Iran nuclear deal. That was arguably one of the best things that he's ever did in his administration. How did they do that? Did they do that by going to war with Iran? Did they do it by drone striking Iran? No, they did it with diplomacy. They sat down and had conversations. John Kerry went over there, and Bill Clinton went over there. They sat down and they had negotiations, and we were able to get a deal for them to stop enriching uranium and to shut down their deal. In return, we gave them back $300 billion. That was their money that we took. We stole. Imagine that. We no, because you do not know, because the right wing will frame it like we're giving them money. No, we stole, or not. I shouldn't say stole. We sanctioned Iran. We sanctioned Iran and we froze their assets, and that was $30 billion of their own money. So we gave them back their own money, and they stopped wanting to create bombs to kill us. That sounds like a good deal, don't it? That sounds like a real good deal. You know, if I give you back your money, maybe you might not want to fight me no more. It's like the kid is, again, it's like the bully analogy. It's the bully analogy that we just used. If the class bully didn't just rob the kid of their lunch money, maybe the kid that got the lunch money stolen is not going to try to attack the bully. No. How about we just not do that? How about we be nice? Can we be nice? Can we sit down and talk? Let's just have a conversation.
Yeah,
That's
really.
That's all we want. But anyway, I gotta go.
All right, Lawrence. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
All right,
always great to see you. Get your input.
All right.
Yeah, I guess like wrapping up on this, I just let you know some other important senators who voted along this line. A couple of presidential hopefuls. Cory Booker voted to give this extra money into the mill. Kamala Harris. I don't really like Heidi Heitkamp. She voted for it too.
Heidi Heitkamp, my God.
Oh man, that woman might as well just start wearing a MAGA hat. I'm sorry. Like
Heidi Heitkamp and Joe Manchin and other blue dog Democrats are Republicans.
Yeah.
They are. The majority of the establishment Democrats are basically Republicans with a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
But
let's make this. Heidi Heitkamp, Standing Rock happened under her watch, and Al Franken from the next state over had to be the one to be like, hey, I think the police are abusing those protesters.
it took a comedian.
Yeah.
It took a comedian who became a senator to tell you, governors, tell you, senator, maybe y'all tripping.
Yeah.
Y'all tripping a little bit. Y'all need to calm that down.
Yeah. I can just imagine like Al Franken knocking on North Dakota's door. It's like, Heidi, there's a tremendous amount of ruckus coming from your state. What's that all about? She's like, everything's fine. Shh, Mini Wachoni.
Okay, right. All right. Here's the thing. This has to be something that if I know we're talking about 20, we just got done talking about the bill. This $80 billion to our Defense Department. This is something that has to be brought up, that the Democrats have to talk about if they're when it comes to their next election, because when Rand Paul says that he will not push a bill or anything like that, when Rand Paul, a Republican who wants to take away women's reproductive rights, says that we should not be in Iraq and Afghanistan, when the fact that Iraq and Afghanistan right now, polling has showed that the American people, that 17% of the American people want to be in Iraq and Afghanistan, still want to be there. So that means that Iraq and Afghanistan are polling worse than our war in Vietnam.
Wow.
Why are we still there? And if you ask any of those senators, Republicans, Democrats, whoever, what does victory look like and why are we still there? You're probably going to get a bunch of
hearts and minds.
Because initially it was weapons of mass destruction. Saddam's a bad guy. We have to get Bin Laden. We have to fight for freedom. We have to liberate these people because they're being oppressed.
Or Afghanistan, where it was, we got to fight the Taliban. Taliban's defeating Al Qaeda. A couple months in, okay, we defeated the Taliban, and everybody's like, okay, so we can leave now. We're like, whoa, minerals.
Yeah, and then we're still there.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, son, come on.
Yeah.
Why? Stop it, Jesus, stop it. Okay, anyway, gotta go.
All right.
Love y'all. Peace.
See you, Lawrence. Yep. Yep. And you keep in mind, Gary Peters, Debbie Stabenow also voted for this budget increase.
Okay, and I'm sorry. Just one more thing. Gary Peters and Debbie Stabenow. Michigan, because that's ours. We own that. We own that one. Now, you want to know how we could correct that one? Call them. Tell them that not only they need to resist, and one way that they can help with the resistance is signing on for Medicare for All and stop signing these bills that increase our military budget for no reason.
And by the way, I don't ever want to hear any like centrist Democrat ever again be like, well, how will we pay for it? How are you going to give our military $80 billion? There's an Intercept article that literally, it was just like, hey, you remember Bernie's free college plan? Yeah, that $80 billion that could have paid for that. Anytime they ask you that question, just bring this up.
It's $7 billion. $7 billion. We were wrong. It's $7 billion that they put into the war machine that we call our empire.
Yeah. $700 billion.
700 bill.
Yeah, we could use some of that for free college and healthcare. All right.
And to put into context, conservative estimates, free college and tuition will cost $60 billion, and free college and tuition will cost $60 billion. Medicare for all will cost $70 billion. I'm not good at math, but 700 billion is more than 70 billion.
Yeah, but then how's Raytheon gonna get their money?
Man. They can go.
All right. Okay. I just had to be the stinker there. All right. So yeah, it's really depressing. You know, I mean, that's a vast majority of Democrats. And it's not even, there's some hope on certain pieces of legislation. You know, Medicare for all, we're seeing like 15 senators. That's unprecedented. John Conyers been holding down in the House, has actually a majority in the House down for Medicare for all. What's it going to take for the people we elect to be as anti-imperialist as the people who vote them into office? And it's not just, look, even there were a lot of people who voted for Trump because they took his anti-interventionist language at face value. Now, they also wanted him to treat the people who were already at war with worse. I can't say that about his voters, every single one of his voters, but that's what Trump said. He's like, we'll treat the wars we're in, we'll be more brutal, but we're going to not be as interventionist. That was an appeal he made to the Republican racist base, or the hyper nationalist base. So even when like really nationalist people are saying, "Hey, I think we should have less wars," yeah, that is a majority of the country. There has never been such a dissonance between what the American people wants and what is actually happening, because while the American public opinion has just absolutely bottomed out on this. We are tired of war. We are sick of it. Yet at the same time, people they're apathetic and they're cynical about it because they've seen, the Iraq War in 2003 saw some of the hugest protests in history. Yet here we are 15 years later. Or, no, Iraq was 2003, so it was 14 years. Here we are 14 years later. People, I think a large part of the reason there's not a solid anti-war movement is because people got exasperated. They fought the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex won. It outlasted the momentum of anti-war protests. So there is no, despite the fact that the vast majority of Americans no longer want these interventionist wars, there is not an anti-war movement because people have given up. Even in progressive circles, imperialism is kind of a footnote. Like at the People's Summit, there was no panel on imperialism. I mean, individually, you talk to anybody there, even some of the forerunners like Nina Turner, and everybody will come out strongly against this kind of imperialism. But where's the resistance there? Where is the resistance? Where was even the political revolution when we were talking about having these New Deal reforms, when we were talking about a future that we can believe in? What did that mean for a man whose platform still included drone warfare? Who really was not, his A game was not in foreign policy. Now it was better than Hillary's because, I mean, she was a warmonger. But he did not stand strongly against the military-industrial complex. And while, we have to give credit where credit is due, he was the only left-leaning senator who voted both against maintaining executive powers for declaring war. That was an earlier vote we talked about last week on the show, which I think literally only 3 senators voted against that. Three senators voted against. That was the precedent after 9/11 that said the executive branch could engage in military operations without congressional approval. That's why we get into 7 countries without Congress approving it every time. And yeah, credit be given where credit is due as far as that goes. But ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to make, imperialism, our war machine, we have to come to terms with it. We have to talk about it. We're not talking about it. Millions of people have died because of my tax money, because of when you go to work, whether, for a lot of you, you're listening in college, maybe you're a pizza delivery person or you work as a barista. When you go to work, some of that money is being used to drop a drone missile on an innocent family who inevitably, because of that violence perpetrated on them, is going to create a greater recruitment for more terrorists who are going to cause more conflict and strife, which is going to cause more justification for America to drop more bombs, which is going to create more terrorists, which is going to... It's a vicious cycle. And we are all at the behest of these defense contractors who push even the most progressive of our politicians to turn a blind eye, to not question the morality of this, to ask, is there still going to be this job-creating defense contractor in my district, in my state? 41 Democrats voted for this. I'm guessing all the Republicans probably did except Rand Paul. I know Rand Paul voted against it. I'm not sure if there were any other Republicans. To look that up. There's a few of them in the kind of libertarian-esque Freedom Caucus who might have voted down. But we need to take imperialism more seriously. It needs to be something we bring up each and every time. Yeah, call Debbie, call Gary about it. Let them know that fire, the fire of the anti-war movement that burnt out from fatigue, that needs to come back. And let them know that it has come back. Because there's no future until we dismantle the U.S. war machine. And you can't separate it from things like climate change. Our military is one of the biggest contributors to CO2, one of the biggest polluters in the world. Their bloated excess is one of the greatest contributors to climate change, and it exacerbates the kind of cultural strife that disable populations from addressing climate change in a meaningful and productive way. And, you know, it really is sad. It's the biggest issue, and it gets perpetually and habitually ignored. Not only by the mainstream media, but by all of us. You know, there's I saw this tweet. Alan Smithy, he does these kind of snarky tweets against the establishment media. Under, you know, that famous pseudonym. But he said something that really just hit me in the gut, you know, full force the other day. And the gist of it was, you know, if you can't, not being able to name, oh yeah, okay, here it is. The fact that we don't care enough to even mention the 7 primarily non-white countries we're bombing daily makes us all white supremacists. So we're gonna it's about time for us to take a little break. Come back, we're gonna go a little bit more into local stuff. You're listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
Hello, this is Rupert speaking. I'm just commenting that I think you guys are off the air because I can't get you in on my radio. And I know it's not my radio because I can get other stuff.
Request lines are open. 387-6303 and 387-6304.
So please hurry and bring me Radio Evolution before I die. Goodbye.
WIDR is proud to be supported by Pedal Bicycle. Pedal Bicycle has 2 locations on 611 West Michigan Ave and 185 Romans Road. More information can be found at pedalbicycle.com.
WIDR would like to remind you to please drive safely. Drunk driving not only puts your life in danger, but the lives of others as well. If you find yourself stranded somewhere, consider calling Drive Safe Kalamazoo, phoning a friend, or having an Uber pick you up. Thank you for listening.
WIDR FM is proud to announce its partnership with the 2017 Audio Tree Music Festival. Happening at the Arcadia Creek Festival Place, September 22nd and 23rd, Audio Tree Music Festival will be featuring acts such as King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, No Name, Super Duper Kyle, and many more. For more information, you can visit audiotreemusicfestival.com, and you can keep up with us here at WIDR FM for on-air and online ticket giveaway opportunities.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution. So, wanted to play a couple of clips today from the last Thursday. There was a candidate forum over at the Edison Neighborhood Association, both potential city commissioners and also talking to the mayoral candidates. So wanted to play a couple of things from that. Let me look up clip real quick. All right, we're going to do a quick musical interlude. I'm going to cue it up, and then I will play it. So this first question, this is going to be the city commissioners, and they're going to be answering a question about generational poverty. Now, as we talked about on the show before, Kalamazoo, it has a very staggering poverty rate. As of 2015, it was nearly 40% for children, about, 30 for adults, although adjusted with the college population, is probably closer to 22%. Still quite staggering. So what this question was, and was related to, there's been a lot of talk over the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence being used to tackle generational poverty. There hasn't been very many specifics, though. And honestly, if going back to the City Commission meeting where they ratified Foundation for Excellence, I remember Commissioner Sykes was critical of the fact that they were already kind of backpedaling, that they were saying, well, we can't end all generational poverty, et cetera, et cetera. It's one of the biggest problems in our city, and something that I would like to point out, and just, okay, a lot of you might wonder, what is the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? So I'll bring everyone up to speed. If you're new, I've talked about this on the show a lot. It is a $700 million investment, and I'll call it that. It's a donation, really, from Bill Johnson, Bill Parfait, to start this foundation, where our city budget is basically going to be subsidized by big money donations. Potentially, they say like anybody can donate to it, but in practical use, all practicality, it's going to be the largest, richest donors who are going to really be facilitating this fund, which over the course of the next few years, it's going to cost upwards of $685 million for the city to actually pay. It's more conservatively around $500 million, but that's just to ensure that the city continues to function and not for all these aspirational programs we're talking about doing with the foundation, including generational poverty. I should also mention there's been a lot of concerns about transparency and citizen control, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the mayoral stuff, but important points to notice or to note when we're talking about city commissioners. There was a proposed ban on restricted gifts. That would mean that the donors would not be able to tell or instruct how their money was to be spent. This was originally how it was said. There weren't going to be any strings attached. That was voted down. The argument being that if we put restrictions on what the donors can donate to, maybe we'll get less donations. my end of it is that it really opens the door for the donors to have leverage and for this money to not go where it really needs to go. To programs such as fighting generational poverty. If you look at the track record of this sort of philanthropy, we see time and time again, it gets used for projects that are involved with beautification, gentrification. We've had great philanthropic resources in the city for years, but the poverty rate has still increased. So there's that. That's the background. That's what makes this so alarming. Also mention that Bill Johnson, Southwest Michigan First, it's a business consultancy group here in the area. They really framed a lot of this foundation behind closed doors. Bill Parfett has his really ominous ties. Used to be the chair of the board of Monsanto. Used to be the chair of Rick Snyder's Political Action Committee, MPI Research, which has been investigated for animal rights abuses. And also he's in the middle of a really alarming and rather disgusting sexual assault case. So, yeah, two bad hombres, to borrow a quote from Mr. Trump, giving us all this money. Is it a donation? Is it a buyout? All that. So that's kind of the context of this question when we're talking about generational poverty against and the Foundation for Excellence. So let's hear what the city commission candidates have to say.
You have people that, you have a lot of families that have had either no jobs or non-availability jobs, or the jobs have been flat. You have people that have increasing needs, their costs are going up. So I don't have to tell you that that's what's going on. But what is missing from the picture here is we need stronger economic development. We need...
real quick, this is Commissioner candidate Charlie Koss. Very pro-business and running on a strong platform for making sure none of the pipes in the city have lead in them, such as Flint.
Although we've started to bring more businesses to town, we need to do more of that. We need more, instead of just the real high-end jobs, we need more regular jobs. We need more jobs for everyone. And we need to solve this problem. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. There's a lot of structural changes that can take place to do that, to invite those kinds of businesses and opportunities that would incentivize them. There's tax structures, et cetera, but that is the problem. I think that should be one of the top priorities of the upcoming commission term.
Can you repeat the question?
It's a long one, yeah. The overall poverty rate in the city of Kalamazoo has increased substantially over the past decade. Childhood poverty rates as of 2015 were at nearly 40%. There have been discussion of using the recently incorporated Foundation for Excellence to tackle generational poverty. What will you do to ensure that city foundation resources will be put towards this vital community need?
I think the key there is the fact that I was born.
Real quick, this is Eric Cunningham.
I was born and raised in the at-risk neighborhood. I think the key there also is that there needs to be opportunity. And I think that the city has, they have the opportunity to really reach out in ways that we've never seen before with these aspirational projects. I do believe that business is a driving force. I believe that education is a driving force. But last thing that I prided myself on when I sat on the city commission was that every single piece of policy that I read, I was reading it from a young African-American male who grew up in an at-risk community. And so I took the time to make sure that no matter what decision I was making, how that would impact somebody who was also at risk or somebody who also might come from a poverty-stricken background.
As a resident of Kalamazoo, most of our residents, we spend 90% of our time in our neighborhood, probably in our block.
This is Aaron Knott.
And so I have been a broken record for the last 2 years about the built environment. I am a staunch supporter of utilizing Foundation for Excellence dollars to infuse capital into the built environment. And what do I mean by that? I mean into affordable housing and workforce housing and revitalizing our commercial corridors that are spread out in all of the neighborhoods that surround our downtown. This does a couple of things. One, it creates wealth and jobs. Two, it creates places that people can go within the neighborhood. Just like right around the corner here in Edison, we have Pho on the Block. We have the sandwich shop. You know, if you walk around the east side or the north side, whether it be Burdick Street or East Michigan, we have plenty of opportunities where commercial corridors have sat vacant, underutilized for years. And so I'm about leveraging those Foundation for Excellence dollars and fusing that capital into doing some neighborhood revitalization projects that again will create wealth, sustainability, as well as some affordable housing projects. Thank you.
I think the best way to the Foundation for
And this is Commissioner Jack Urban.
Excellence could help with dealing with generational poverty is to provide the foundation, the IMBAM, in which all the nonprofits that are already doing what they're doing can thrive and be in contact with each other and work in concert. What we need to do is to create an environment that is attractive for people who live here, to want to continue to live here in Kalamazoo, because they don't, many of them don't have to, and be very inviting to people who can actually help us grow wealth. There's two parts of what I want to see happen with the Foundation for Excellence. One is to improve our infrastructure, and two is to increase the investment in human capital. And we're underutilized there too. And that's what poverty implies, is that there's underutilization of human capital. And
Thank you so much, Jack.
I'm trying to ignore that. I look right over it.
I think partnership and
This is Leona Carter.
collaboration to empower parents with education and ways to access resources. When you know better, you do better. And there's a lot of parents that don't know any better. And so if we, channel programs to, job skills, different skills and resources so the parents know better so they can eventually do better.
I'm going to use this time to answer Mike.
So let's. This is another clip from the City Commission. It's them giving their closing comments, and just wanted to do that so you can get kind of a better sense of like who these candidates are and what their priorities are. This is Jack Urban speaking.
Interpretation of one of the questions that we didn't get to, which is how can the city of Kalamazoo become more accessible to the community? Well, to me that means accessibility in terms of being able to walk to where you need to go, be able to ride your bike to where you need to go, to lessen the dependency on the automobile. It means better traffic flows, better traffic design, more walkable communities so that we build up instead, because we can't build out. We're a landlocked city. So that's a big issue with me. I just want to get that across, and I hope that if that's one of your issues, that you'll consider voting for me. Thank you.
I'm going to read a couple of questions.
This is Leona Carter.
So am I understanding that you would like to reduce the tax burden on residents and simultaneously ask residents to give to an endowment fund? If two philanthropists are donating monetarily, who is donating a methodology that doesn't involve the residents' pockets? Of the 80% of respondents that were supportive of the Foundation of Excellence, what was the total number of residents surveyed? Do they live in Kalamazoo? for the strategic partnership with the organizations whose mission and work aligns with the goals of the city. What financial contribution or plan have they donated?
Well, I guess, let's see. I guess
Charlie
I want
Cost.
to thank the commissioners, the mayor, for the service they've done already in the city. Of course, the League of Women Voters for putting this on. But within that context, 10 years ago, the city was in a very different place. We've moved to a new direction. Things are looking a lot better, and we have a great plan, a comprehensive plan that we're rolling out. Talks about, like Jack said, developing the downtown in ways that are more friendly, changing the street structures, the bike paths, all that stuff is going to add to the environment to make a more rich city for everybody that lives here. We also have to work all the way through the city. We have a lot of areas in the city that need development. We have areas that are opportunities if things are put in place. And I believe that starts with getting infrastructure down, that starts with getting the water system done and out of the way so we don't have to worry about that. And let's bring new jobs here, let's bring more work here. And I think one of the greatest things we could do is create a better communication from the government to the people, a more friendly, self-serving type of technology, websites, whatever. That needs to be improved greatly so that people feel like they have more input. Some people can't get downtown for meetings. We need to make that even more available than it is. So we really need to look at everything. And we have a huge opportunity here with the Foundation of Excellence and the other opportunities that are here.
Thank you.
I hope you vote for me.
So a couple days ago, I had the opportunity to knock some doors, and I ran into an individual named
Eric Cunningham.
Mr. May. Mr. May owns a small business here in town, and he specifically told me, I can't vote for anybody who's not willing to remove partisan, roll up their sleeves, and go to work. And that's a lesson that he learned from his father, and I think that there's a lot of wisdom in that. And so I'm personally asking for your vote and an opportunity to serve you for multiple reasons across the board. But most importantly, I'm glad to see you're here. That means you're engaged on a level and you want to learn. And there's something you need to know, and you need to make sure that your community is moving forward and taking the best step forward. But there are a lot of individuals who are in our community, Addison neighborhood alone, should have filled this room up and been out the door. And we want to make sure that there are more people here at the table. So I challenge you to not only vote on November 7th, pick the people that you think will represent you, but to also make sure that you bring at least 10 people with you.
As a woman who works in politics, both in Washington, D.C. and the state capital here in Michigan,
This is Aaron Knott.
I've trained individuals about how to be organizers, how to talk to their lawmakers, how to get involved in public service. And 2 years ago, a group of women asked me, you have a remarkable way of training and firing people up and building sustainable networks across the state of Michigan of folks that worked on a project with you and then they joined their planning commission or their school board. Now, what are you gonna do? And I said, I work in the politics. I help create the policy and then I network with the lawmakers. I took a risk and I ran for office, and I won. And I've loved every minute serving the city of Kalamazoo. I've loved working on policy with the mayor and with my colleagues on the commission and the city staff. I've loved serving residents when they reach out to me either by email or Facebook. There was a garage sale just down the street from here, a never-ending garage sale, and a woman in the Edison neighborhood reached out to me by Facebook. We weren't friends, and she said, I need help because this garage sale is deteriorating our quality of life. And I was able to work with the Community Planning and Development Department to get enforcement officers out there in real time to take care of that never-ending garage sale. There's dozens of examples in the last 2 years. I want to continue doing this work and serving residents. I want to continue being a solution-oriented commissioner, and I hope that you'll consider voting for me on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, this time I want to thank all the candidates for participating.
So those are all the city commission candidates, and you can look them up. They all have their own pages on Facebook. Just running through that again. Aaron Knott, Jack Irvin, who are currently on the commission. Then the ones running, Eric Cunningham, Leona Carter, and Charlie Koss. Now I want to go to a clip from Bobby Hopewell and Chris Wamoff. Were also there. They are both running for mayor, and they were asked a couple of questions. I'll have to kind of figure out which one it is real quick. Hold on just a moment. This is a question regarding the Foundation for Excellence and the amount of transparency and citizen control in it. The question specifically asks if documents will be made publicly available in regards to donors. We find out some very interesting things from both where Chris stands on the matter, and Mayor sets down some hard numbers on where we can find those kind of disclosures.
Well, to an extent, I think they will be because of part of the Open Meetings Act, right? So there is kind of a part that they'll be available online. Where I would increase the transparency is the meetings. I honestly would like to see them live streamed or have some kind of social media that's keeping track of them as they happen. The other thing that we're in mid-September and we don't have a board for something we've already passed, and we're not really sure unless something changed right away of who is nominating the board that's going to run this. And so before we get that figured
quick interjection. He's referring to the board that is going to run the Foundation for Excellence. And there is no current mechanism for finding that board. Initially, they wanted the Kalamazoo Community Foundation to do it. I personally find that problematic. They did change the bylaws to make that language more ambiguous, so it is not necessarily going to be the Community Foundation, but they are still leaning towards that. And I want to make it clear, the Kalamazoo Community Foundation does a lot of good work in the community, but I think there's an inherent conflict of interest where you have this community foundation, which is already basically the arbiter of the city's donor class, picking out the members of this foundation who are going to decide what to do with this money. So that's what Chris is referring to there when he talks about the foundation board.
I'm going to skip my
Control is also vitally important.
Sorry about that. Just a second.
We passed, and we're not really sure in September, and we or have some kind of social media that's keeping track
Sorry about
of them as they happen. The other thing that we're in mid-September, and we don't have a board for something we've already passed, and we're not really sure unless something changed right away of who is nominating the board that's going to run this. And so before we get that figured out, since we haven't got it figured out, I think we need publicly elected seats on that board. I don't think it needs to be appointed by somebody that we don't know who it is yet. And the third part, again, is we need to repeal the restricted funds. That's going to be the best step for transparency.
I agree with some of what...
And this is current Mayor Bobby Hopewell.
My colleague here said. These meetings, I do believe web streaming is important. I think our city commission meetings are web streamed on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I would be an advocate for that. Donations above $5,000 have to be made public. This is a public board. It's appointed by your city commission that you elect, which you elect us, and we appoint multiple boards, such as the planning commission, which, by the way, is one of the most diverse boards we have in this city right now. I do this restricted gift part that we often hear about. That belongs in the realm of the rules that the board sets in regards to receiving gifts. Foundations do this work. I've been reading about it. More gifts are becoming restricted in the foundation world. There's information out there, but boards work that out through their processes of receiving gifts. If we want a board that's appointed and what have you, then let them do the work.
All right. And if you want to look that up, that is on the Public Media Network, the full candidate forum. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. This has been the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. The preceding thoughts, views, and opinions were not necessarily those of 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo, or Western Michigan University. Just a couple things looking at events coming up. Excuse me. Some things to shout out about. There is tomorrow in Grand Rapids a rapid response to ICE training at Lee Street. It's the CRC 1261 Lee Street. I believe that's at a church. So it's going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., the WMU College Democrats are hosting a candidate forum with Eponine Garrett and Chris Burns. And that will be at 7 p.m. And where's the specific location? Well, it's a WMU College Democrats. So I assume that's somewhere at the Bernard Center. Also, actually, let me double check. Oh, that's about it until next week. But Sunday, September 24th at 3 p.m. There is going to be a meeting of Movimiento Cosecha. And that is our local undocumented immigrants' rights group. So, also on Monday, September 25th, Planned Parenthood is hosting a Kalamazoo Activist Night at the Kalamazoo Health Center at 6 p.m. And on Tuesday, September 26th, over at the First Congressional, the First Congregational UCC, that's over on West Michigan Avenue, right across from Studio Grill. There is going to be a candidate forum with Leona Carter, Eric Cunningham, Aaron Knott, Jack Urban, and gubernatorial candidate Dr. Abdul El Sayed. So, political events coming up, lots of them coming up this next week. So, maybe I'll see you there. Anyway, y'all have a fantastic evening. This has been the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. Thank you very much. And keep fighting for that revolution solution.